All right, everybody, what's up?
Yeah,
Let's go.
it's bad boy, baby. Yeah, come on. Neptunes.
All right. Pause. All right. Diddy. Y'all want me to tell you what I think about Diddy accusations? The truth of the matter is, there's a few things I think about, but obviously, I am not. I don't work in the criminal system. I'm not on this case. I have no access to Diddy, so I don't know shit about whether he's legally committed any crimes or not. Okay. However, I do think it's interesting how they found the notorious freak off tapes and lube. Obviously, that's going to be a big hit in the urban world. Listen, man, you're supposed to have lube, okay? All right, if you're out here fucking, you're supposed to have lube, especially if you're gonna have mass parties, okay, with a lot of people. So, I don't knock Diddy for having lube. That every responsible man should have lube in their house. Oh my god. You know, this is a kind of time old thing I find with particularly the United States, where it's kind of the one place in the world where you do see black entertainers come up into a lot of money and visibility. You know, I mean, it's one of the reasons why obviously black folk look to black American culture and really admire it, because it's kind of the only place in the world where black people are really visible. Let's be real here. So the truth is, but America has this thing where they love to put, I would argue, even ignorant, especially ignorant black folk, like black folk where you're like, this person's probably not the brightest person in the world, but almost as like a vehicle for their innate desires of deviancy and shit like that. Anyway, they'll put these people on a pedestal, and then eventually they love to just like send them crashing down. That's like part of the entertainment of it all. And people tend to always focus on the sexual aspect too. It's a very time old thing, right? It's sort of this racist trope that black men are sexual deviants. Anyway, that's just something I notice, and I think history has shown this. However, now, does that mean that Diddy fits the bill? Look, I don't know if Diddy is a criminal or not. If he's a criminal and he has done criminal things, then yes, he should go to jail. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. But am I going to judge his, like... But outside from that, like, I'm not necessarily offended. Like, you had sex parties, so what? Now, again, if they were without consent and you were doing illegal shit, then yes, of course. I mean, you deserve the consequences of the law. But, black folk are funny in a way like that, because we tend to be, and I'm, again, generalizing here, but we tend to be very, I would argue, sexually conservative. I mean, a lot of that, I think, comes from a religion, being, very Christian, I would say. That's sort of puritanical thing. So it's weird. It's like, on one hand, we are the face of hypersexuality, and we perform for usually non-black people to get money, right? Just to literally put money in our pocket. So we perform this hypersexual act. But deep down, we're very arguably sexually conservative. And it's a weird place to be. It's a double consciousness of sorts. Anyway, that's another conversation. Either way, we shall see what happens with Diddy. And yeah, I mean, look, if he's able to get off on the charges, then, I don't know. I don't know if that means that he paid off a good lawyer or anything. Again, I don't really know. I don't quite have an opinion other than, if you commit crimes, you should pay for them. Otherwise, doesn't matter. Diddy has made some great music. He's been involved with great artists, and he has a great ear for talent, and I'll always respect that aspect of the music. Again, you know me, I don't really like to comment on news stuff, but there was just so much crazy news coming out in the last 24 hours. I was like, you know what? Sure. And I'm sure you guys are expecting a video, so let's do it. So that's that. Done. Now, let's talk about Jigga Man. I thought this was an interesting article because essentially the producer, executive producer of the Super Bowl, I guess, who was an agent, let's see here, Hollywood executives, okay, anyway, so has basically said that, in fact, it is Jigga Man that makes the decisions when it comes to picking artists. Now, what I think is actually interesting about this, and I'm going to go off on a slightly tangent here, is that when people say, okay, but cosigns don't matter, It's like, oh, word. So you're telling me that somebody who's that powerful in the hip hop world, who can pick out who's going to be the Super Bowl artist, doesn't like that his or his cosign doesn't matter? You're kidding yourself, right? We all know that Jay-Z's cosign is a huge deal, and somehow people seem to forget or seem to say, okay, like now that Cole is an artist, they go, oh well, Cole did it on his own. Like, stop. Okay, he's a cosign artist. Okay, Jay also co-signed Kendrick, by the way, if y'all remember that with that trash "Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe" remix. I'm gonna close that. That was garbage. But look, the truth of the matter is, Dre, Jay-Z, these are huge artists, with tons of machinery behind them. So if they say so and so is someone that you should listen to, a lot of people are gonna check that person out. And if that person is just remotely decent, that person has a career. If they're trash, then yeah, they don't pop off. But yeah, that they would have to actually not be very good at all. And again, of course it's relative to what's out in the game, like anything else, right? Because someone will say, "Oh well, Jay has co-signed people before, and they never were as big as Kendrick or Cole." Well, yeah, but again, you have to look at that time period. What was that person that Jay co-signed with competing against, right? If the bar is low as fuck for everyone, and then Jay introduces another mediocre artist, you're gonna listen to that artist anyway because the bar is mad low. It's interesting with the three major rappers of this era. So, quote, like everybody says, Drake, Kendrick, and J. Cole. Well, to me, it's obviously Drake was number one. I don't even think there's a top three. People just like to add the top three and that sort of, Biggie, Jay-Z, or Nas. That's a top three. That's a real top three. Drake, Kendrick, and J. Cole is not a real top three because Drake is like way bigger than the other two, and has made way better music than the other two. So, but of the guy Drake who has made way better music and is much bigger, he kind of came in with the lower cosign if you really think about it, right? I mean, yes, Lil Wayne was at the height of his popularity when he co-signed Drake, sort of into existence. But the truth of the matter is that Wayne is not somebody that has the machinery or the clout or the stature that Jay and Dr. Dre have. Let's be honest here. You know what I'm saying? So, and Drake came in and really proved himself. I think that's why he's hate, and he's a Canadian. Maple syrup, man. But let's be honest here, okay? But that's the whole thing. Drake actually superseded, and Drake is a much better artist than Lil Wayne anyway. So you can say that. But of course, is J. Cole a better artist than Jay-Z? Hell no. Couldn't even do it. Wouldn't even remotely come close. Is Kendrick a better artist than Dr. Dre? Not at all. Anyway, so that's that. But I do think it's interesting just how much, again, the old niggas run rap. This is actually a massive problem when you really sit and think about it. And again, I love Jay. I'm a big fan of Jay-Z's music. And I'm a big fan of Nas's music and a lot of these guys and the people behind them who are OGs themselves. I love what they've done for rap in general. It's in the great days when they were making great rap. But I think that, and if I'm being perfectly honest, part of the big problem of rap is that rap is secretly run by old people who clearly don't care about the quality of the music. And they will put a young face and they'll put out any young face that seems to have like a little bit of a buzz or whatever, because to them it's not that deep. They have their Illmatics they can go home and listen to in their parties, right? And I do think that the industry needs new talent. The question is whether or not the audience sees it that way. But there definitely needs to be new management, I think, in rap for rap to improve, right? Some real like young, fresh blood that knows rap. But they also have to love rap, and that's another thing too. The truth of the matter is that so far, the OGs are the ones that really loved hip hop, anyways, and probably still love it more than the young artists. The young artists don't care about it; they just see clout, right? Like most of these guys never listen to anything in rap. They like Adele more than they like Wu-Tang and shit like that. And speaking of that, come to our boy Tyler the Creator. Tyler the Creator is going to appear in a movie with Timothée Chalamet. I actually think this is a good look for Tyler. Again, when I was going to say I see two white people here, but that's harsh. Anyway, the point is, that's this is Tyler's audience to a certain extent. So I think that this is actually a good look for Tyler, instead of him trying to convince us that he's some kind of rap lover and all that kind of shit. It's like, look, bro, like, we know your audience, we know what you're about. Just do these movies. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully this works out for you, so you don't have to keep complaining about the state of rap while and it being meme music while being the meme artist of rap that helped make rap useless. So that's that. Now we'll go to something that's a little bit more spicy in terms of world news, and that's actually much more important. Is let's get some Ice Cube to talk about it.
Hell, but no throwing up. Halfway home, and my page is still blowing up.
Well, you know what that means. Halfway home.
Man, this the birth of Pretty Flacco, nigga. I mean, I be that Harlem nigga. I be
that jiggy nigga.
Get with me, bitch. Like,
let's go.
Swag, cause I'm swagging on them.
There's a particular sound in here that I want you to hear.
DJ Scream, goddammit, goddammit.
Nigga, Pretty Flacco. Nigga gripping that chopper.
The beep. So you must have heard about Hezbollah goofies, terrorists, hanging out, picking fruit like this goofy, and their page is going off. I think this is actually beautiful news. I will always celebrate the injuring and death of a terrorist because they are terrorists, okay? And I'm sorry, I don't have remorse for them because they don't have remorse for me, all right? It's that simple. Now, let's see. Boom. Here's why I think this is actually a brilliant thing that Israel has done here. And again, goes back to my overall point. When people have all these things negative to say about Israel's killing the kids, what about the kids? I know that they don't actually care about the Middle East. They don't care about the kids. The kids are a prop to them. And actually, like Hamas, they use the kids. They prefer more dead kids so that they can use it as a way to channel their hate towards Israel. The point of the matter here is that this is beautiful because at the end of the day, this is targeted. Israel has shown time and time again that all they want to do is to get rid of the terrorists they're trying to kill them. It is that simple. They're not trying to fight civilians. They're not trying to harm civilians. If they could do this literally with everybody, if they could, they would. Okay? And that's the point. And I think this is beautiful. Look, listen, the terrorist has been taken out here. No one else has been harmed. And that's really what Israel is going for. You can't say that about Hamas and all these other Islamists. They're trying to maximize civilian death. You know what I'm saying? If Israel really didn't give a shit about, the rest of the people, and let's be honest here, fair amount of these people in this particular video, I would argue probably 80% of them want Jews dead. If we're being super real. But even then, Israel could have strapped an even bigger bomb and said, I don't care if it wipes out like the whole of Lebanon. But they don't think like that. Right? Because at the end of the day, Jews just want to be left alone. And that's a fact. They just want to be left alone to thrive and do, and, be like everyone else. Have kids, raise kids, and live free and happy. But these damn Islamists keep trying to test them and keep trying to exterminate them. Right? Like the Nazis that they are. Right? And look, the truth of the matter is you have to learn from history. Okay? I'm not saying anything that isn't immediately obvious. I've been watching quite a few videos about the Holocaust and things, and I think one of the things that maybe I've forgotten or I didn't quite remember or I needed reminder of is, when the Nazis created the Holocaust, and that society created the Holocaust, these are not dumb thugs, okay? Nazism, like all this BDS and sort of this intellectual university garbage, right? Nazism was very much held up by the intellectual elite of Germany, right? Artists, painters, intellects were all talking that, Nazism is great and racial purity and, that kind of, Jews are evil. And that's how it starts. It starts in the intellectual elite circles. And then like a cancer, it trickles into everything else, right? And this is the point. We have seen what Nazism leads to, and we've seen how tragic and how horrible that stuff is. So that's why when I see people talk about, Israel, violated international law, and they try to pretend to be deep, I know that you're just another Nazi from back in the day. You're not that deep, right? Let's be honest here. You want to sound deep, but you're not deep, okay? You're not just another pseudo-intellectual in a line long line of pseudo-intellectuals. And why do I bring up Nazism? Because the style of how the Nazis tried to eliminate the Jews is the same as what we're seeing now. Okay, it's the same story. It starts off with trying to isolate the Jews politically, intellectually, and then when it goes from there to physically, right? That's the next step. So they physically, again, this is why you should study the Holocaust. You should study that period because all the lessons are there, right? And you'll see the same pattern now. Just as a lot of the people, you know, for example, Qatar-funded institutions and stuff are now trying to isolate the Jews. And, you know, that's what the whole thing is about now. BDS, all that stuff is about trying to isolate Israel and trying to isolate Jews, right? So you start off trying to isolate them politically, and then eventually at some point, someone says, hey, now that they're isolated politically, intellectually, then let's isolate them physically and move them into the ghettos, which is what the Nazis did. And then from there, it's like, oh, well, let's just exterminate them. And that's when they ship them off to death camps, okay? So again, I'm not really impressed by the anti-Israel speakers out here because I know exactly what they're doing. They're playing from the Nazi playbook. And you know, honestly, that's what a lot of these Palestinian Arabs, you know, they're obviously inspired by Hitler. You can tell. And how do I know this? Well, look, this guy is Amin al-Husseini. This was the Grand Mufti of Mandatory Palestine at the time. So I want to say this is like obviously in the 1930s. You know, you'll see him. This is Hitler's BFF, bro. This is you know, this is a guy that's like, yo, I fucks with Hitler. Like, let's hang out, bro. I mean, this is Palestine. This is the religious leader of Palestine at that time. He's literally hanging out with Hitler. Oh, what about this? Is that him doing the Nazi salute in Germany? Yes. This is Palestinianism at its core. Okay? It has always been about this. It's always been about exterminate the Jews. So again, when I see young kids who are parroting Palestinianism, what they're actually parroting is this shit. Nazism. That's a fact, right? And they want to seem deep, but just like the people back then weren't deep, you're not deep either. Okay? And I say you, obviously not you good folk, but those who are parroting that shit, you're not deep. And as a black person, obviously, this kind of shit makes me nervous because I know what Nazis did to black folk. A lot of people don't really think about that. But again, you know, pseudo-deep niggas don't do history. They don't study history. Nazis killed a lot of black people too, by the way. The ones that were in Germany. That's the whole point. When you see a group of people try to exterminate the Jews, best believe they are trying to exterminate and also subjugate black people at the same time. So of course, as a black man, I'm going to be very nervous about that. And the truth of the matter is that Islamists do subjugate and kill black folk all the time in various parts of the African world, and especially on October 7th. Again, the footage is out there. If you really want to see it, it's some really graphic shit. But, you know, if you go on Twitter, you will probably find the actual video of Hamas and ordinary Gazans lynching my man out here. This dude was Tanzanian, who just happened to be in Israel, you know, just on an internship type of thing. That's what Arab Muslims think of black folk. Again, I'm generalizing here. Of course I'm generalizing, but the truth is the Arab world is extraordinarily racist towards black people. That's a fact. It's a fact. I live there, I know. And anybody who lived there knows. And they know that I know. And that's why they don't want me to speak out. Right? So long story short, look, obviously I don't like conflict. I don't like the idea of conflict. But I think you got to be aware with what you're dealing with. Okay? So be safe. Pay attention to what's going on in the world. Again, rap, as much as it's like I love rap and I love hip-hop, at the same time, world news is more interesting to me, especially something like this. Because this Israel-Hamas war, as I said, probably closer to, you know, right after October 7th happened, this is the biggest conflict in our lifetime. And the reason for that is that it is literally a choice between truth versus lies, right? Freedom versus Nazism. It's that simple. There's very few conflicts are that simple, right? But it's literally that simple. You have the Palestinian sort of quote-unquote Palestinian Arab Muslim Islamist cause, which is Nazism 2.0, right? Versus freedom and, like democracy and freedom and no authoritarian, autocratic, theocratic nonsense. And you have people in the Western world who have completely forgotten how important it is to fight this, right? To not just let it be legitimized or it's opinion. It's not opinion. This shit is evil. We know what it is. You should be able to figure this out. You've had, throughout history, and you have Google, and you have the ability to actually look at this stuff, right? So that is that. Anyway, so I guess you could call me a Zionist. I've been a Zionist anyway. So, the people who are like anti-Zionism are anti-Semites. We already know this. This is obvious, okay? And very simply, for those who want to know what Zionism is, Zionism just basically means that Jews have the right to self-determine in their homeland. That's it. It just basically means that, look, listen, I'm a Jewish person. I come from the state or the land and that region that used to be Israel, the Kingdom of Israel, and I have a right to go home and to be part of my homeland. Everyone has a right to their homeland, so I don't know why anyone would say that Zionism is all that special. I'm an Igbo man. I have the right to my homeland. Like, I'm from like my home. Like, I can go home whenever I want, right? Let's say my kids, okay, are going to be Igbo, right? If, like, at some point they'll have that Igbo blood in them, they have the right to go back to Nigeria and be there, right? Like, it's their land. I mean, this is the whole point. It's nothing special at the end of the day, right? So a lot of times when people talk this whole like anti-Zionism, like I'm not against Jews. I'm just against Zionism. Yeah, okay, all right. Just say you hate Jews and call it a day, man. Like, stop capping, all right? Peace.